This could actually change everything in the movie making industry. A report has just come out that the visual effects department at Marvel Studios has officially voted to unionize and are going to be covered, if everything goes smoothly, under the big union IATSE. Now, you guys might remember about a year or two ago, IATSE was on the brink of striking. They reached an agreement with the studios, and but that covers a lot of people. IATSE covers a lot of tradespeople within movie making, but visual effects traditionally has not been one of them. And we've heard tons of stories in the last year or so about visual effects heavy projects having a lot of controversy because animators and visual effects artists overworked, underpaid, bad working conditions, all this kind of stuff. But they've never had a union. And, I used to work in a visual effects company. And I've said for a lot of years that VFX artists really need a union to represent them. And now it looks like it's coming. This is coming to us from Variety, who are running this headline: Marvel VFX artists vote to unionize. They read as follows. Visual effects crews at Marvel Studios have voted to unionize, IATSE announced on Monday. A press release notes that a supermajority of Marvel's more than 50 worker crew had signed authorization cards indicating they wish to be represented by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. Added VFX coordinator Bella Huffman: turnaround times don't apply to us. Protected hours don't apply to us. And pay equity doesn't apply to us. Visual effects must become a sustainable and safe department for everyone who suffered far too long and for all newcomers who need to know that they won't be exploited. Now, this is the latest little bit that has come, like I said, in the last couple of years, of a lot of different controversy. Like starting last year, especially, going all the way back to 2011, but especially starting last year, we had headlines like this: VFX artists, and I'm tired of getting pixel fucked by Marvel. That was from Vulture. Also, it wasn't just Marvel. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem controversy as overworked visual effects artists speak out. Also, more stuff with Marvel. This is from CNET. Marvel's VFX artists are suffering and starting to speak out. Also, you remember that Seth Rogen animated film Sausage Party? Questionable treatment of Sausage Party animators says about the industry at large. And by the way, the animators on Sausage Party won a lawsuit about that. But this is a long-standing thing going all the way back to The Life of Pi, when Rhythm and Hughes did groundbreaking visual effects. And then, as a result of that movie winning Academy Award, they went out of business. How does that make sense? Having a big success and then going out of business. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, first of all, I want to put this in context, that Marvel's doesn't really have a visual effects department per se. They do, but it's not what you think. It's not like when Marvel makes Avengers Endgame that their visual effects department does all the visual effects. No. What Marvel does is they contract out their work to a bunch of other visual effects contractors, right? And those visual effects companies do the visual effects work for the movie. Companies like Digital Domain, Animal Logic, Weta, Industrial Light and Magic, all that kind of stuff. Now, to put that more into context, Digital Domain alone has about 1,200 employees, right? We're talking about Marvel does have a department, but it's 50 people. It's a very, very small department. To give you a sense of scale, take a look at this. Avengers Endgame, according to IMDb, and actually the numbers are probably much higher than this, but according to IMDb, Endgame had a visual effects crew of 2,195 visual effects artists. Venom 2 had 750 visual effects artists, and Ant-Man 3 had 1,586 visual effects artists. Now, again, that's just according to IMDb. That's it. Just there. There are some other places that report like just the last battle, the big battle at the end of Endgame, took 1,400 visual effects artists. So we are talking about a relatively small group of people, the ones who actually work at Marvel proper, have the visual effects. I'm sure they do work there and all that kind of stuff. But this could be very, very significant, even though this is a relatively small group of people that are applying for this unionization, because all it takes is the first domino to fall over to create a chain reaction. Now, why Are working conditions so rough and so hard for visual effects artists that they are looking to unionize, that they need this sort of reputation? Why did a company like Rhythm and Hues have this massive Oscar-winning success and yet have to close their doors and go out of business? I'm going to super oversimplify this. Forgive my chicken scratch. It is very difficult to write properly on this. But let's say you've got a movie, okay? Let's say you got a movie. I'll just make a M with a big circle around it. You got a movie coming, okay? And that studio will basically put out, it's called different things. Back when I worked in the construction business, we called it a call for a proposal, right? So what basically happened in construction, if the city had, say, a new road that needed to be built, the city would put together a call for a proposal. And they would send out this document to all the different construction companies. It says, we need this, and we need this, and we need this, and we need this, and we need this, right? This big, long list of requirements. Just telling the companies, hey, we need this street built. Here's all the requirements we have. Send us a proposal. So what would then happen is that a company would get that proposal and they would put together a proposal and a bid. So they go over all the information in the call for a proposal. They take all the requirements, they look at what's going to be needed, and then that company figures out, okay, how much can we do that job for? And then the company says, okay, we can do it for, I don't know, let's say $4 million, okay? Then they send that proposal to the studio. Now what happens is, we'll just say, instead of company, we'll just say Com 2 and company 3 and company 4 and so on and so on and so forth. They also all send in bids. So the thing with this company here is they can't bid too high, because if they bid too high, the city is going to give the contract to another construction company that comes in with a lower bid, right? So they look at that proposal. They look at that call for a proposal. They're like, what is the minimum amount of money we can do this for that we can still make a little profit and hopefully win the bid? They submit the bid, and let's say company 2 asks for 5, company 3 asks for 4.5, company 4 asks for 6 million, whatever. So company 1 gets the contract. They did $4 million. Great. Now they go out, they fulfill all the requirements, and they're done. Now, in the world of visual effects, and again, I'm super oversimplifying this, okay? This isn't 100% completely accurate the way I'm putting it, all right? But this will just give you a bit of an idea. In the world of visual effects, it's not terribly dissimilar. So go back and take a look at this. But now it's a call for a proposal for a movie. And a company like Marvel will send out, a call for proposals to companies like Digital Domain, ILM, Animal Logic, so on and so forth. They'll send out all these things. They say, these are the visual effects shots we need. We need these visual effects shots. This is how many shots there are. This is what we're looking for, all this kind of stuff. Well, now a VFX company looks at that and they say, okay, we can do it for whatever, let's say 10 million. And let's say that VFX company wins the contract. Great. Now, the reality is, with most of these movies, there's far too many, especially in the comic book movies and sci-fi movies, there's far too many visual effects shots that can be done by one company. That's why when you watch the end credits scene on something like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, there's 13 different visual effects companies listed, right? Sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less, but there's tons of visual effects companies simply because the sheer amount of work that needs to be done can't all be done by one company. Okay, but let's get back to company VFX here. So that all looks good, right? They're going to get $10 million to do all these visual effects shots. Well, here's the problem. That $10 million that they bid, that's all they're going to get. That's all they're going to get. Well, why is that important? Well, because when they put together that bid for $10 million, that was their executives figuring out, this is how many people we have, this is how many work hours it's going to take, this is how many months or years it's going to take us to do it, and this is how much we're going to have to pay in salaries, so this is what we can do, right? Well, what happens when a movie, after they send out the process, we need what's the word I'm looking for? Not a reshoot, but a revision.
Like, yeah, revisions, right? Touch-ups.
Revisions. Oh, we need, okay, you did that, but you know what? We had a different idea now. Now we want it to look like this. And they're, all right, so they go back and do it. And then they say, oh, you know what? Now we got another revision. Now do this. Oh, now you know what? Sonic, we now don't like the way Sonic looks. Redo the look of Sonic and re-render that in. Oh, wait a minute. Remember how we said we wanted this shot to be of a cityscape? Well, now we want that shot to be more of a closer up shot of a building with this going on. So like another revision. And by the time you get to revision number 400, all of a sudden there's all this new work, all this new stuff that had to be done, but the visual effects company is still stuck with $10 million. Okay, understand those principles. Now go back to Rhythm and Hues. Back when they did Life of Pi. Their workers worked to the bone with all the revisions and all the changes and all that kind of stuff, but they weren't making any more money. So here you have Rhythm and Hues, which is obligated to deliver for the movie studio, but they're only getting so much money from the movie studio, but they're still having to pay their workers, and eventually it made them go out of business with deadlines and stuff like that. One of the recent examples was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, right? My number one favorite movie of the year, but reports then came out that the workers were working like 20-hour days, 7 days a week, all this ridiculous stuff. Why? Because the visual effects company is now getting revision after revision after revision from the studio, but they're not getting any more money. And they have to meet these deadlines, and they're having to get them done as fast as they can. So they start overworking their workers and all this kind of stuff. All right. What a union will do here is that if the visual effects artists have a union, they can put out an industry-wide standard that says, hey, guess what? We understand overtime is going to need to happen, but a visual effects artist cannot work more than, say, 14 hours in a day. It's just not good for their health. It's bad for them. A visual effects artist can't work more than 14 hours a day. They should be working 8 hours a day, but they can't work more than 14. They can't work more than 6 days in a 7-day period. I mean, it should be 5, but you know, if stuff so. But also, you got to start paying them overtime. You got to pay them if they work more than 8 hours a day. You got to double their rate or 1.5 times their rate if they start working overtime. Hey, you can't make them work 18 days in a row. Hey, you can't just, now, the reason that's important is let's go back to that visual effects company now. The visual effects company now, when they're making that $10 million bid, they are now going to have to start thinking, we can't just go for the dirt bottom dollar. We are going to have to take into consideration the fact that we're probably going to get 30 revisions. We're probably going to have to, due to union rules, we're now probably going to have to make sure that our artists don't work X many days and can only work X many hours. And we're going to have to pay overtime on this chunk of hours. And instead of $10 million, now they're going to have to put in their bids for something like, $18 million. And then that way they can stay in business. Now, it's going to mean that the price of visual effects will go up across the industry. But considering the industry is working on the backs of visual effects artists who've been overworked, poorly treated, oftentimes in some lawsuits saying, they got their credit taken away because they complained about the working conditions. Now that they'll have union protections, or if they can get there, it'll be significant. Again, this is just Marvel. It's just like 50 some odd visual effects artists working at Marvel. They're not even the ones who do the majority of the work on the Marvel movies, but it's got to start someplace, and starting at someplace as high profile as Marvel could end up being really, really significant. And like I said earlier, could start a domino effect. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Fall is right around the corner, and HelloFresh is here to help you plan for the busy season ahead with tasty dishes delivered to your door. Simply choose your recipes and pick your delivery date, then lay back and enjoy the last days of summer knowing that dinner is covered. Feel like you would love love a wholesome homemade meal, but there's just not enough time? Well, with HelloFresh, all you need is 15 minutes and you'll be enjoying a tasty, satisfying meal made in your own kitchen. Just look for their quick and easy dinner options plus quick breakfasts and lunches too. My wife Ann and I are both working professionals, and dinner time is always stressful and time consuming. And that's one of the main reasons we absolutely love HelloFresh, and we always end up with a great dinner. So go to HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think, yeah, it's about time? Like all these other trades and in the industry, they are represented and have collective bargaining power with a union. It's about time visual effects artists have that as well. Or do you think visual effects work should just be strictly considered as a gig economy kind of thing, like being an Uber driver or something like that? Whatever you guys think or feel about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks a lot for checking out our video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And also, we do a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice.